you, and when I defang the Viper, trust me, ain't gonna come from nowhere. Jeff, I already put you out. I don't even know why you're out here right now. Keep on talking. Hey, do me a favor. Why don't you act like this is an AA meeting and you shut your mouth while I'm sharing with the group? And Mustafa, you out here, a boy among men. And I'm gonna tell you what, you got lucky at the Rumble, so I know you're gonna come out here and run your mouth about how bad you are. But let me give you a little bit of a reality check. You see, Mustafa, you said that my eyes don't lie. Well, your eyes don't lie either, because last week, they were closed real tight when I put your simple ass to sleep. And AJ, hey man, be honest with me. How's our old girl Wendy doing?
Welcome back to the Clark Street Wrestling Podcast. It's me, Hafiz. With me as always is Devin, and we have a special guest with us today, Max Holiday, wrestler, actor, all-around great guy, joining us today. Talk a little bit about wrestling, talk about his career, talk about a film that he's in. So yeah, Max, how are you feeling?
Man, I am feeling great right now. I mean, despite the fact that the COVID and everything going on, I feel good, and I'm fortunate enough to be healthy and have my wits about me right now. So I'm thankful for that, man.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's just a crazy world we're living in right now, you know, with the whole, you know, COVID and social distancing, and I just, you know, wearing a mask every day, I feel like I'm losing my mind, you know, it's just like all the things that go with it, but I'm just trying to do my part. I know we all are in terms of trying to fight this thing, so, you know, yeah, definitely a crazy time we're in. So first things first, wrestling. So you're a wrestler. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, like currently, like where you're wrestling and what got you into wrestling, I guess, in the first place.
And just to let you know, too, full disclosure, you're our first wrestler on the show that we're interviewed. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're honored. Thank you.
I love being the cherry pie.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes.
Man, wrestling, going back as far as, you know, a little kid being a Mega Powers fan, sitting there on Saturday morning watching wrestling with my dad and my uncle is the earliest memory of professional wrestling that I have. It wasn't until I was in high school that I was watching two dudes with attitudes, Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Shawn Michaels. And I was like, dude, I would love to do this. So fast forward, I started rolling around in the backyard with my buddies. Found a promotion on the south side of Chicago called the Lunatic Wrestling Federation, the infamous home of CM Punk. And I started my training and my wrestling journey there in the summer of 1997. They wouldn't let me do anything till I was 18 for insurance purposes, so that wouldn't happen until later in '98. But that's where it started for me. And that was, like I said, 97 we started. 98 I had my first match. And it's been a long and exciting journey since then. Currently, I'm wrestling pretty much Wisconsin, Indiana, Illinois area. Several different promotions. Of course, if you're familiar with the scene in the Chicagoland area, there's one at every corner, just like a 7-Eleven. So there are plenty around here. I mean, that's a brief synopsis from watching wrestling to doing it. So I'm literally on my way, as they say, into the sunset of my career. So you guys got me in my prime.
That's great. So speaking of like wrestling, like, have you been transitioning in this quarantine era of wrestling?
It sucks. It sucks. For the last couple months, I've had literally one show a month. I mean, clearly when quarantine happened, no one was doing anything. So I want to say it was July. Was my actual first show, and that was for Brew City Wrestling up in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The promoter Frankie DeFalco up there. That's all the wrestling I've literally been doing till this week, when I'll be doing a private wrestling show where it's a 75 people capacity, social distancing, masks, all that jazz. I mean, it's so private that you have to it's almost like going to a rave back in the day where you get the instructions on the egg and you got to smash the egg afterwards. So it's super secret, but that will be my first one, provided it doesn't get shut down due to Pritzker's thing with the whole counties this week. That'll be my first one in the Illinois area in this year. So it's been very sparse, the wrestling action, that's for sure.
I know you said you haven't watched any of the wrestling or catch some of the promotions. Have you got wind of like how they're adjusting to the quarantine wrestling at all? How they make their adjustments so far?
Are we talking like as far as like the independent
wrestling? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of companies that are doing the social distance shows. I've seen some companies try to pull off what WWE and AEW have done, where there's no people there. The whole no crowd there is just kind of weird to me. And I kudos to all those guys that have done it, because I mean that's one of the biggest things you feed off is the people, and to not have them there, even with the screens there, it's still weird to me. So kudos to those guys. But I've noticed there's been a lot of outdoor shows. A lot of outdoor shows, which is kind of funny because a couple of years ago, everyone, I'm not doing an outdoor show. That's not wrestling. Now everyone's like, I'll take the booking.
Right. Yeah, man. No, I'm not going to take wrestling for granted now. Yeah.
No. Now you're wishing you were doing all those fair shots and mud shows everywhere. So yeah.
In terms of how this is all going through, with everything with COVID and all that, what are some like protocols that you guys have to go through? Like, is there like regular testing or like what is the product? Because like for me at work, we're always getting temp checked and we go through screenings, every day going in and out. So how has that like been for you during all this with the companies you're working with?
Well, with Brew City Wrestling, which is now as far as Saturday goes, I'm not sure how they have it set up, but with Brew City, they do the temperature testing, they do the distancing, they offer sanitizer, masks, all that jazz. As far as the wrestlers, I mean, as far as testing goes, that's on them. It's an honor system, really, kind of like wrestling's always been. So, but so far, knock on wood, everything's been pretty good. I mean, there's guys wrestling in masks. I mean, people are making adjustments. I mean, I've seen people doing social distance wrestling, which is a bit ridiculous, but to each their
What
own,
is
I
that?
guess.
Like what is that? Like social distance wrestling?
Is wrestling each other with the force? I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually you actually
6 feet and then you.
actually saw that match with Joey Janela. I forget who he was wrestling, but yeah, he did a social distancing match, and yeah, it's basically what you described, using the force, just telekinetic powers, choke slam. And Joey Janela, yeah, that's what he did. That's what he actually pulled it off in a comedic way.
Wow. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you mentioned Shawn Michaels and like Kevin Nash and those guys while you were in high school, like they really got you into it. What were some of your other, like you said the Mega Powers also, you mentioned them, but what are some other heroes that you had just like that really got you, interested in wrestling in the first place?
I mean, well, it all goes back to Hogan and Savage. Like I said, Kevin Nash with Diesel and Shawn Michaels. And then, of course, guys like you have your Ric Flair. I love Lawler, Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, a couple of the old school guys, the Funks, all of them. Going back into the late 70s, 80s, all those guys from that era, I just love that era of wrestling. I could probably name 1,000 guys off for you. And maybe some of them you sit there and go, yeah, sounds good, all right. But that era of wrestling I just love because it was still real to them, damn it. And it was just the kayfabe era. It's just, I don't know. That's the era I'm in love with. That's the era I love. Late 70s, 80s, early 90s. So, but yeah, those are some of the guys that I looked up to for sure.
Yeah, and then so for me, when it comes to wrestling, back in the day, the characters, big characters that you just kind of like, you lost yourself in it, like watching Hulk Hogan, and he comes out, you know, and he's like, eat your prayers, eat your vitamins and say your prayers, you know, and you're like, yeah, Hogan, yeah, I will, and I'll, you know, be bringing strong like you. And, you know, it's just inspiring. And, you know, Macho Man and the voice and the entrance, the flamboyance, I'm like, wow, I was taken by that. You know, so for me, you know, a lot of that, you know, was big for me. And it seemed like I don't know, the older I got for some reason, and Dev and I talk about this a lot on the show, that I started to get more into like the technical aspects of wrestling as I got a little bit older. And, you know, guys like Chris Jericho, Lance Storm, you know, I'd really get into them and watching them have like these technical matches, these like, you know, 60-minute matches or whatnot. So for you, I guess, do you lean one way or another more so? Is it more, I guess, like the characters that really draw you in? Is it more just like the technical aspect? Is it a little bit of both? I mean, just in general, like where do you kind of side more so in terms of like those aspects of wrestling?
Character. That's ultimately what draws me in. I mean, it's what drew me in. That's what still draws me in.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's all about the character and that over the top, bigger than life personality. I mean, the technical wrestling, yeah, that is great, and it's amazing to watch. You know, a technician in the ring. Just like it's just as great to watch, you know, a hardcore wrestler that actually knows what he's doing is having, you know, an actual hardcore match, not just out there beating the shit out of each other. So, yeah. But when it comes to wrestling, it's all about the character, the personality, and, you know, suspend belief.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. But yeah, go for it, Devin, because I know that's we've debated that a bunch on the show. And,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I feel like for me, you know, like even just working with Devin, you know, it's kind of brought that back out of me. Like I'm trying to track that more for myself. And I feel like, you know, even though the wrestling, like, you know, I watch NXT and AEW and some of these like technical matches, they're great, but it does lose something if there's not that character, if there's not that larger than life character or just an interesting character performing these moves. So, you know, for me, it's like, yeah, you know, character, as much as I want to say, man, it's the technical aspects of the wrestling. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, but, you know, gosh, the characters, like Jericho right now is a huge character. I'm like, oh, man, yeah, no, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to walk away from a wrestling match. Just like with the high-flying stuff, it's amazing to watch. Technical wrestling is amazing to watch. For guys flying through the air, it's amazing to watch.
Lucha,
but you're not going to walk away going, do you remember him doing that armbar for 20 minutes? It was amazing. And then he spun around into the headlock, and then he took the side take down. Oh my God!
Right.
No, you're like, did you see that dude doing, you know, XYZ, throwing this in the crowd? He told me I was a punk. I ain't no punk. I'll show him who the punk is. That's gonna walk away, you know.
Exactly. Fair enough. Devin, you go, man.
Yeah, man. Just to, you know, to further drive this point home, like that's just me. Like with wrestling, I think you said with you late 70s, early 80s. With me was early 90s, and then I really loved it, Attitude Era, and it was Stone Cold. Stone Cold is what I gravitate to. I was like, who is this dude that's kind of towing the line between good and evil, and he's doing a great job at it. Like, you don't have to be a goody two shoes all the time. It's okay to mix some gray in there too. And and that time I kind of just relate to that too, man. Just like, yeah, I can be a badass too, but still, you know, have this code, have this honor, just like Stone Cold is. And you have others characters like The Rock, but Stone Cold was the one. It was that one character that just like, okay, that's the guy I want to be. I want to, if my boss pissed me off, I want to give him a Stone Cold Stunner.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Right, man.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, he's quoted saying, I got the greatest job in the world. I get to beat my boss up. So.
Oh, man. So, Brass Ring. We had Zachary Ross on here with us not too long ago. He's a good friend of ours, and you know, we talked about the film. What was it like shooting that film with him and that crew?
Oh man, it was amazing because that was actually a project that took a while to get going. I know he contacted me about it, and then we kind of lost communication, and all of a sudden out of the blue, he's like, "Hey, you still interested?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "By the way, we're shooting in like 2 months." I'm like, "Oh, all
Well
right,
then.
cool." And short of doing school or church plays, I've never really done any real acting before. I mean, not that I act in wrestling; it's really me here. But so that was exciting in that aspect. And I told him, I said, "Dude, I'm kind of worried about this. I said, I've never done this before." I said, "I mean, it's a bucket list thing. I mean, if I was to never do anything again, I can say that, I became somewhat of a name in my area. I've done a short film, it's small, not what I was expecting, but it's what I asked for. So I, was very grateful for the opportunity. And then getting in there for those several days and just like, I took several pictures, while during breaks because it was just very surreal. I'm sitting at a table staring down this, the lens of a multi-thousand-dollar camera with people running around setting things up, and I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. This is real life right now. I mean, it was just a very surreal thing and exciting, and getting to see the process. And while doing it, I definitely grew to have a better appreciation for film,
Mm.
for the crew, and for the actors themselves. I mean, it was a lot of work in those 3-4 days or whatever it was that we did, and we only did. I think ultimately there's like 15 minutes of footage, but only 10 is being cut into the film or something,
Yeah.
something along those lines. I was like, Jesus Christ, that was a lot for just that little, but it's great in my opinion. So, but yeah, the whole experience was just really, really amazing. I was very thankful for Zach giving me the opportunity to do it too, let alone being the lead, if you will.
Yeah, that was cool, and I wanted to ask too about that. Like, was there any real world, scenarios that you had from in your wrestling career that kind of just you use that as emotion for any one of your scenes?
Well, I mean, for the whole thing, as I told Zach, is I can kind of relate to it in the aspect of, as I said when we started here, I'm coming into the sunset of my career,
Mm-hmm.
unless I get signed and things get revitalized, and then it's just a whole nother world. But so I can kind of relate to what this man's going through in the aspect of the realization. I am human. Things are coming to an end. I'm not needed. I'm not going to be able to do what I love. How am I going to handle this? So yeah, in that aspect, absolutely, is able to channel some of that and uh, put it into John, which was just a very interesting experience that helped me grow a greater appreciation for what these people do.
Did you guys kind of collaborate on that character to say, hey, like, this is what I'm thinking for the character, or was it all just out there on the page right off the bat? Like, how did that character kind of evolve?
I was a rookie, and I came and I said, "Okay, I'm so excited. Thank you very much. What do you want me to do?" You want me to do it like that? Okay, sounds good. Don't worry, I'm gonna do my best to do it just like that. So, I mean, yeah, I thought about who is this guy and how's he gonna act, but I mean, Zach gave such great direction, and I was so nervous about it, so I just kind of went with what he said. Did my best.
Well, also too, he gave us kind of an insight. So, you part of the filming, you had a broken foot.
Yeah. So yeah. So July 26th of last year, I had a match in Chibance, Illinois, and it was a street fight match, and I ended up falling off of a scaffold and broke the heel of my right foot.
Ooh.
I
How high
don't know
were
if
you in the
anything
air?
about no more than higher than a door frame.
Oh man! Wow!
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't that high. It was one of those scenarios where it's my bad, and I took responsibility for it because I didn't check it beforehand. But the scaffold was actually on wheels that weren't locked.
Mm.
So when I climbed up and swung myself around to get into the scaffold started to lean back, and I was going backwards. And all that went through my head was either A, I push it back and hopefully it stands up, or B, we're both going down and we're going to hit the people behind me. So
Oh.
I pushed, I took the fall, the scaffold went up, I came down, broke the heel of my foot, which I don't know if you know anything about bones, but the heel is the hardest bone in your body and the hardest bone to break. So
Oh my God.
the doctor was like, "This is pretty amazing."
How did you do this again? What were you doing?
Right.
Well, I mean,
He wants to know the whole background story about this.
the worst part about it was our medical system's so screwed up that it was literally a month before I had, I think it was a CT scan, CAT scans. They did something to my foot, and I actually found out what was wrong with it. I was hobbling around for a month, going from ER to doctor to specialist. By the time we got X-rays and everything done, it was like a month into it. And she was like, "Well, we have two options." She goes, "We can either just cast you up and let you go because it's already started to heal, or we could re-break it and put have surgery and you're out for forever. You got screws in your feet." And I'm like, "Right, so let's throw a cast on this because I got stuff to do." So yeah, I had to let Zach know that I broke my foot, and I think I let him know. I think it was maybe a couple days before the stunt practice. And you've seen the film. You see, I actually pick up. Uh, uh, what's his name in the film? I can't remember his name now. Jesus, you guys got me so nervous here.
Oh no, man!
There's a lot of stunt.
Hey, we're just little people. We're just the little people.
There's a lot of stunt work in the film, and Adam, that was his name, and I was on one foot, so it's kind of funny while watching the film back. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if you have access to it, go back and watch it again. There's several. I don't even know if Zach knows about them, but I've picked up on them Easter eggs as far as like I see the crutch in a scene, you see my boot in a scene, you see the chain I'm wearing. Watch the chain through the movie; it's kind of funny.
Oh, okay. Oh man, yeah.
I'm gonna go back and
for
look
real.
for this.
I mean, yeah, I'm an idiot. I've watched them probably a million times, and I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I don't even know if Zach has picked up on it. I haven't even talked to him about it yet. So, whatever.
He's like, oh man, I got to go back and edit now because. You know what I mean? Oh,
so yeah, we
man.
filmed it, and I told Zach, I'm like, dude, I'm on a broken foot. I'm really sorry. He's like, you still want to do it? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about me, man. And this was before I had the X-rays. This was before I actually knew it was broke. I thought it was just a really bad sprain, maybe. And so for those 4 days, I went through with a boot on. They did. Zach told me not to worry about it. They'd film it. They'd make sure that they filmed it just right, so it didn't look like I was messed up at all. But yeah, I know me. I'm watching the film, going, I'm hobbling. So,
honestly, I couldn't tell if you got not knowing that and watching it. The way that they shot it, the way that you performed it, for me, I was just completely into it and really just like I wouldn't have even thought that. So
they did some great work.
When Zach put that little nugget in there about the broke, I'm like, wait, what? Hold on, he had a broken foot in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did a good job of concealing that, man.
Yeah, they did. They did an excellent job. But if you go back and watch, you pay close attention.
I will.
Yeah, look for those Easter eggs. That's right.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, "Son of a bitch!"
Exactly.
I've already submitted this thing.
I've already submitted it. Yes, exactly. I'm like, oh no, it's all right, man. It's still great. It's still great. Every film has that. You go back. There's so many films that'll have these continuity things, and it's like, oh, I mean, Game of Thrones, they had the Starbucks cup, in one of the scenes. So yeah, it happens to all of us. Also too, just kind of shifting gears a little bit, you being in the wrestling business, we have listeners here who may be interested in getting into the wrestling business. What advice would you give to, someone who was interested in being a wrestler and getting into the business?
Go to a good school. Make sure you shop the school. Make sure that, it's a reputable place. Don't be like me and get stuck in a place where you end up getting stuck there for 10 years. They don't teach you the business aspect of wrestling. Make sure it's a reputable school. I mean, there's several of them around. There's also several guys that throw their rings up in backyards and be like, hey, come train with me. But make sure you're going to a good school. It's going to cost you some money, just like anything's going to cost you money to learn to do. But good school. I know Freelance has a good school in the city. If you're in the south of 80, there's Southland Championship Wrestling out there. They have a good school. The Thumper's Den up in Milwaukee, ran by Frankie DeFalco and Brew City Wrestling. Beer City Bruiser from Ring of Honor. He goes in there occasionally and trains. So there's some good schools. Just make sure you go to a good, reputable school and not some schmuck in his backyard with a wrestling ring.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great advice. And then I guess you mentioned the the business aspect. Any business advice for, any young up and coming wrestler, in terms of just like things to look out for?
This is kind of a twofold, like, know your worth, but at the same time know who you are and know where you're at. Listen, it's always good to sit there with your mouth shut and your ears open, because you're always going to learn something. I mean, I still learn stuff to this day as far as business goes in wrestling. And don't burn bridges, because you never know when you'll come back to cross that bridge.
That's great advice.
And let me tell you, the wrestling world is really, really small. As big as it is very small, and they talk. There's what's the saying? Telegraph, telephone, telewrestler.
No, it's so
mind
true.
your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Speaking of value, was there ever a promotion that tried to lowball you, but you was like, hold up,
All the time.
Oh,
I won't say the promotion's name.
yeah, you don't have to do that, but they're in situations.
They are a prominent Chicago, one of the top Chicago promotions, and they asked me to come in, and I said, of course, gave them my price, and they came back and they lowballed me, and I said, I'm sorry, I've been doing it for 20 years. This is my price. I know who I am. I know what I can draw. And they're like, oh, but you're going to get so much exposure here. I don't care about what you think you're going to offer me. I know who I am. I've done it with several promotions. I told one promoter, I said, dude, I came to check out your place. More people in your line knew who I was than knew any of these guys that you have working for you. So, and that's a shoot. That was a shoot. I mean, I'm saying, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So when I say know your worth, know your worth. But at the same time, I also have 20 years in with these local guys. Well, I just, business is business. So.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I know you said you don't really keep up with what's going on the, like the WWEs and some of those. Like, what are your thoughts on those companies? Like what's your perception? I mean, because we talk about it all the time. Like, there's so many. We love wrestling, and we check it out, but we have our gripes. And I'm just curious, like, from your aspect, someone in the business, like, what are some of the things that you're seeing that maybe that you like versus things that you don't like right now?
Well, when I say I don't know, I mean, I keep tabs. I kind of try to pay attention, loosely what's happening. Like, I love the whole Bray Wyatt thing happening right now.
Oh yeah.
With him and Alexa Bliss, that's just, I love that. But that goes back to character and storytelling,
right?
So. But as far as wrestling now, I appreciate AEW. I feel they're just something fresh and new. Even though they're kind of rehashing some older things, but not everybody knows that. Really, my big gripe with wrestling right now is just the whole quarantine. It's pretty much why I haven't watched it, because I just can't. It's weird.
It's all about the energy from the fans.
I think it
Exactly.
exposed like the WWE for just how even more controlled it looks with having even no fans there.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they claim they're TV production, this and that, but it's just weird. It's like watching wrestling. It's like watching practice matches happen and training, and only this time the fans are now piped in via Skype or whatever, and they're watching. But as far as product goes, I mean, WWE's gonna always be WWE. I'm excited for AEW and just the freshness that they're bringing, and it seems like they're giving a lot of the guys that deserve opportunities at least an opportunity to get out there and get in front of the crowd and try to get a reaction out of them, to get something.
Yeah.
Whether it's just their 15 minutes for doing a 5-week shot with them, or they get signed. So, I mean, not all of us can be lucky. Some of us got to press the grind. Some of us got to tease Cody Rhodes on the internet. I'm trying. drew up a
man.
stupid T-shirt for it. Damn it! Notice.
Notice me, see me. What would be your dream matchup?
For me,
Yeah,
I mean, dead or alive? Can we go with that?
Yeah, we go with that, man.
Yeah.
Dead, I would definitely love to work with Brody.
Man.
Just because I've the last 10 years I've mimicked a lot of the stuff that I do off of him. Come to find out within the last year or so, a lot of people are all of a sudden doing something similar. But the whole long-haired beard thing is kind of going out the window, I was told. But either way, Brody, I'd love to work with Nash just because I've always been a big Nash mark. That would be. I was like a little kid when I met Nash for the very first time, a little kid in a candy shop. So if you want to see me mark out, bring Kevin around and I'll be a baby. Suzuki from New Japan. Something about him, man. I would just love to get in there and just go ham with that dude. I don't know. Probably those are the three that right now would be some type of dream match. Dead, current, alive, if you will.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody, man, that dude. I didn't grow up in that era, but I watched his old matches, and I'm like, this dude is scary. And I don't know if he's legit hurting people too. Like how he would
he just didn't care.
He didn't care. He have this chain. He go in the crowd and start twirling it and scaring people. I was like, holy shit, man, this dude is awesome. But I would never wrestle this dude, man. And
have you ever? You should go back and watch Brody versus Lex Luger in a steel cage. Brody versus Lex Luger in a steel cage. You want to see a grown man pretty much pee his pants? Go and we know Lex Luger. Lex is fresh.
Hell yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this was like right before Luger was getting signed. He had this match with Brody in a steel cage. Go watch that. That is some quality wrestling.
Oh man, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
I'm about to note that down right now, man.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Bill Alfonso is the referee in that match as well. So I think.
Oh man.
Yeah, Brody versus Lex Luger.
Maybe we'll recap that on the show.
Seriously, do an episode on that. I like that. That's a good idea, actually. Noted. I guess just because we're getting a little bit close to time here, so I just want to ask you this: like, in terms of in your career, like, what would you say would be call your biggest accomplishment, the thing you're most proud of in your career, the thing you were able to do?
That would be my career, because I'm one of the dudes that when I started, they're like, you don't belong. You're not. This isn't for you. So at that point, it was a goal of mine to be someone in this area, if you will. And up until the whole COVID thing hit, every promotion I was going into, I was a top guy, taking their titles, and now everyone in this area, except for you two, apparently, know who I am. So,
hey, us doing this now, I feel I am looking through. I'm gonna be following you more.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh man, I've told you, YouTube. I went everywhere. I'm like, I want to know Max Holiday. So
you know what?
But yeah,
type in Max Holiday verse. That's what I find.
Oh.
Not that I've searched my name or anything.
Hey, I've done it too. It's all right.
I've heard that's how you're supposed to do it. I don't know.
Oh man, well, I definitely will look into that. Do you please plug your the shows that you're going to be doing, and I want to give you an opportunity to just let people know. You just said Max Holiday verse to look you up, but also too like that show you have coming up, and then just anything else you got going on.
Yeah,
please
go ahead,
let
plug
people
away.
know.
Yeah, for sure. You can look me up on social media. I've been told I'm a social media whore, even though I really don't think so. I just like to keep up with everything. So I am on Twitter at Holiday Special. Facebook, you can look me up, facebook.com, the Max Holiday. Instagram's Max Holiday. TikTok is Max Holiday. Tumblr's Max Holiday. I think, was it Parlor's Max Holiday, Gab's Max Holiday, YouTube's Max Holiday.
Oh man,
you really are everywhere.
Yeah, you keep it going. I'm like, okay, TikTok, cool, TikTok.
I got really big into the whole TikTok thing here over quarantine. my daughter told me about it, and then a coworker told me about it, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. The next thing you know, I'm like, all right, how do I do this stuff? So,
that's awesome.
But yeah, no, all over that. And then Pro Wrestling Tees, Max Holiday, I'm on there as well. And as far as Saturday I am doing a show in Shabance. Like I said, it's a closed event. If you want like info for it, you'd have to DM me for the info. Other than that, I'll be up in Waukesha, and I'm sorry, November 7th I'll be in Twin Lakes for POW Entertainment's Wrestle Rage, and then 24th I'll be in Waukesha for Brew City Wrestling. So yeah, look me up on social media, and let's hook up and on social media. You can follow me there. Be very careful on how I word that. My apologies.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much, Max, man, for joining us and being on here with us. Definitely a pleasure. Devin, at this point, tell the people where they can hear us.
Oh, yes, all the time. So you can always follow us on Facebook. We have our awesome Facebook page. That is the Clark Street Wrestling Podcast. And we have a Facebook group, too, that's growing, the Clark Street Wrestling Community. All right, it's a great, positive, funny. So if you got a sense of humor, it's a great group for you, and we'll welcome you with open arms. All right, and then we have our Twitter, of course. You can always hit up on Twitter. Our followers, I think we said we was at 200. Now we got 230, so we're slowly chipping away, getting up there. People are starting to notice us, so we appreciate that. We appreciate that. So that is Clark_wrestling, and then we have Instagram, of course. Follow us on Instagram. That's Clark_street_wrestling. And then I can't forget about this last but certainly not least, TikTok. Yes. TikTok. Yes. The sensational beast. I just must feed it every time because it's just growing. We all have it. And just to let you know, we have over 500 followers, bro. Like it's we just started TikTok, and we're throwing videos here, little sneak peeks of our episodes, and then showing my daughters. My daughters start hating on them TikTok, hating real hard because we got all these followers and likes. I'm like, hey, I guess we're doing something great because my daughters are hate. Yes. So you can always follow us on TikTok. It's the same as our Instagram name. It's Clark_street_wrestling, and you can always listen to our show any major podcast app. You've got Anchor, got Spotify, got Breaker, and our library is very massive, over 150 episodes for your listening pleasure.
All right, and that is going to do it for this week's special episode, this interview with the Max Holiday. Thank you again so much, sir, for being here with us.
Thank you.
And for Devin, I'm Hafiz. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
All right, guys, thanks for listening to the Clark Street Wrestling Podcast.